The first season of Jujutsu Kaisen introduced a group of cursed spirits partnering up with Suguru Geto in order to accomplish their goal of exterminating humanity and to take the reins as the dominating species on the planet. Each of these four special grade spirits are said to be the manifestations of humanity's fears of natural disasters. Something interesting to note is that Jogo, the most vocal one of the group, also makes an interesting statement that he believes that cursed spirits are the true humans. This line made me wonder, not exactly what he meant by being a true human, but what if each of these cursed spirits represent different aspects of humanity? And to my surprise, the personality of each of these cursed spirits represents an aspect of humanity taken to negative extremes. Let's start with the most direct example of this theory, that being Jogo. Let's start out with the most direct example of this theory, that being Jogo. Jogo was born out of humanity's fear of volcanoes and the terrifying destruction that they cause. Jogo is hinted as being the strongest one of the group and acts like their de facto leader. On the inside, Jogo's personality represents humanity's anger, their tendency for violence, and above all, their ego. Jogo is a very capable fighter, being equated to about 7 or 8 of Sukuna's fingers. And because of this, he is always willing to show off how powerful he is, and delights in showcasing just how much stronger he is over other people. As seen when he killed a restaurant full of people, when Geto told him that his strength was inferior to not only Sukuna, but Satoru Gojo as well, a mere human. This claim from Geto bruised Jogo's ego. How could a lower being be capable of defeating him? And so, in a fit of rage, he went out to challenge Gojo in order to prove his strength. And like a raging volcano, Jogo represents the extent of humanity's anger and their natural talent for unrestricted destruction, and how these tendencies, mixed with our powerful egos, can lead to not only the destruction of everything around us, but even ourselves. As seen when multiple times throughout the series, Jogo's actions have led to his eventual downfall. Next up is Hanami, who represents humanity's fear of land disasters, like earthquakes. Hanami views themselves as the embodiment of nature's revenge against humanity for the irreversible destruction that humanity has caused. Hanami, like nature, is durable, capable of generating large amounts of plants, and is capable of producing a variety of status effects that impacts living organisms. Hanami represents humanity's caring side, their sense of duty, and what I believe to be humanity's philosophical side. Now that one may be a stretch, but I feel limber enough to make it work. So Hanami's name translates to flower viewing, which is an event that is done in Japan when the cherry blossom trees bloom. Hanami is considered a time to celebrate, admire, and to ponder. Hanami ceremonies have inspired countless Japanese poems, novels, paintings, and the Japanese style of art known as wabi-sabi. Hanami has been shown a few times throughout the series to ponder on things in the middle of battle. This is most notable when Hanami is fighting Todo and Itadori, where Hanami ponders their desire to fight and reflects on Mahito's thoughts on the matter. Hanami also exhibits a very caring nature, which also fosters their strong sense of duty. The combination of these two traits has allowed Hanami to justify their part of a conspiracy that will commit countless atrocities against other life forms. In this case, humanity. The ability to commit atrocities from a deep love is incredibly common throughout human history. However, I feel as though nationalism is a widespread example of Hanami's attitude. During the 20th century, especially, we have seen how a pride in one's nation led to several world wars, the dehumanization of others, and unfortunately, genocide. Opportunistic leaders are capable of enacting such egregious policies because they play to the deep love and affection that their people have for their nation or their people, and the lengths that they will go to in order to preserve it. While on the surface, Hanami displays what most people would call examples of humanity's virtue. What Hanami actually showcases is what happens when something we care so deeply about is threatened and the lengths that we will go to in order to protect it. Now let's move on to Mahito. Mahito is said to be the youngest of the group. He is a special grade spirit who is said to represent the disaster, that is, humanity. I'm sure I don't need to say what Akutame means by this, but just in case I'll explain. Mankind has led to the extinction of countless animal species, has changed the landscapes of more land than any other natural disaster, and man-made climate change could trigger the sixth mass extinction event. Mahito's power is called idol transfiguration, which allows him to manipulate the souls of any living thing that he touches. When we take a look at what aspect of humanity Mahito represents, his power becomes incredibly fitting. Mahito exhibits humanity's playfulness, innovative spirit, and our sadism. Perhaps Mahito's most prevalent attribute is his sadism, as he has shown that he takes great joy in the pain and suffering of other people, always attempting to play mind games with the humans who have crossed his path, like during his first confrontation with Hanami, when he took time to question Hanami about whether or not killing humans is bothering him, knowing full well the burden that was taking on his soul. However, probably one of the best examples of Mahito's sadism is the way that he treated Junpei. So, while Junpei was eventually used as part of the plan to have Yuji make a contract with Sukuna, this was not Mahito's original intent when he first met the boy. Junpei interested Mahito because he was the first human who was able to see him, and so Mahito began a fake friendship with Junpei, teaching him about cursed energy and trying to warp his mind against humanity, and eventually convinced him to take revenge against those who have harmed him. Then, at the end of it all, Mahito revealed to Junpei that he too is no better than those humans that he was actively disparaging, and then used idol transfiguration to turn Junpei into a monster. And while the helpless and hurt Yuji was pleading with Sukuna to help Junpei, Mahito shared a laugh with the King of Curses over the futile situation that Yuji was in. This leads into what I consider to be Mahito's first priority, above all, and that is his need for a good time, which leads to his colleagues like Jogo, which consider him to be still young and immature. Mahito's playfulness is best seen when he is fighting. During fights, Mahito always has a smile on his face and is always trying to figure out new ways to enjoy the fight, whether it's trying something new with his power or manipulating the situation in a way to try and get a good laugh. Mahito's playfulness and sadism help fuel another trait of humanity, and that is his constant innovation. Perhaps because he's the newest cursed spirit, but of the entire group, Mahito's powers go through the most development. From his initial introduction of being shown to testing his powers on unsuspecting humans, to changing the form of his own soul, to eventually creating his own domain. To innovate and improve is, in my opinion, the most key trait that humanity has. The use of tools is not independent of humans. Other apes use it, and even some birds use sticks to pick larvae out of crevices. But humanity's desire to take these tools and expand them to never-before-seen heights is something that is unique among us. All of these characteristics of humanity really do culminate into Mahito's power, idol transfiguration. Without his sadism, Mahito would be too afraid to create lasting changes on his opponents, and would have felt a heavy burden every time his power was used. Mahito's playfulness made him capable of utilizing the powers to the fullest by transforming various portions of his body at unexpected moments, like when he increased his speed against Hanami. And it allowed him to transform his body into various shapes and forms that maximized the unpredictability of his powers. Finally, the two come together into innovation. Mahito's lack of concern for his human test subjects, along with the playful creativity, has allowed Mahito to perfect idol transfiguration. Finally, let's take a look at Dagon. Now, since most of the information we get on Dagon is revealed to us in the manga, I'm going to give a major spoiler warning for this entire section. So, if you don't want to be spoiled, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content. Now on to Dagon. Dagon is meant to represent ocean calamities, such as tsunamis or floods. Dagon, unlike the other special grades, is actually a cursed womb state for the entirety of the first season, and will remain there until the Shibuya incident, where he goes into a more evolved state after the death of Hanami. The aspects of humanity that Dagon represent are personal growth, pride, and camaraderie. Starting with personal growth, While Mahito goes through the most development in terms of power, Dagon went through the most development in terms of personality. Starting out as a shy, timid creature that barely spoke a word, to eventually becoming assertive and confident. Personal development is something that we as humans have all strived for at some point in our lives. Whether it's to be seen as a more confident person, say like Dagon's transformation or growth, to becoming better at school, or even to learn some useless skill. On a side note, I learned how to whistle like 3 months ago, and I love it. Next up is pride. Now, why does Dagon showcase more pride than, let's say, Jogo? Well, it's mainly because Jogo exhibits more ego than pride. While it seemed as though Jogo was proud of being a cursed spirit, he was more concerned about his own strength and even took offense to when it was hinted that Sukuna was far stronger than him. Sukuna being the king of curses. Whereas Dagon exhibited true pride in being a cursed spirit. For example, he expressed rage whenever he was referred to as just a cursed spirit and not by name. Finally, Dagon exhibits true camaraderie for his fellow cursed spirits. Unlike Jogo or Mahito, who never really showed concern to any of the other members of the group, oftentimes choosing to act alone, and while Hanami would act in order to save the fellow cursed spirits like Jogo, Hanami waited until Jogo was almost dead before stepping in, where I feel as though Dagon would most likely have made a move to help him out sooner, as seen at the level of rage he exhibited at the death of Hanami. Going back to his pride, when Dagon expressed rage about being called a cursed spirit, included in his outburst was mentioning that him and his comrades chose to have their names, which again exists in stark contrast with Jogo's egotism. Despite being enraged and having his pride stepped on, Dagon still maintains his respect and cares for his compatriots. Well, that's all for today's video. If you enjoyed, again, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content. This is probably gonna be my last video on Jujutsu Kaisen for a hot minute, and I'm probably gonna be switching over to series like Hunter x Hunter and One Piece next. So, look forward to those. See ya.